the importance of physicality and working out, the benefits that that can bring to your physical body are quite well known, I would like to believe, in the online community. Also, outside, when it comes to the education system, as we know, we get physical education classes. But what I believe is not often spoken about is the benefits that that can bring you psychologically, the skills that you can pick up, and how you can apply that to other aspects of your life. In fact, when I myself has tried to search for these things, it has been quite a niche thing spoken about online. Not saying it has not been spoken about at all, but it's just something that you definitely have to sift through to try and come across. In the education system, I don't recall much spoken about towards the benefits it can bring you towards your mindsets and other areas of your life. So I will be addressing that in this video. But to begin, I just want to start by sharing with you my journey, how I started, the reasons, and the things that held me back that I believe most people will struggle with when trying to decide to start their journey, but also to continue it. Because I would say the most difficult thing is not starting working out, but rather continuing and continuing to be consistent. When I began, which was 7 months ago, currently, I am, well, not currently, I just am 192 centimeters tall, which is 6'3", and I weigh 70 kgs, which is about, well, it's between 155 pounds to 160 pounds. I'm not a imperial system user, okay? I'm better than you if you are using that system, my metric system. So do your own conversions. I'm not sure about the specifics. Back then, though, I did weigh less, and 70 kgs for my height is pretty skinny. Will be honest, but even back then I was much skinnier. So that was a huge reason in and of itself to continue and take my journey more seriously. And it's not just about the actual appearance of your body, but also how other people treat you based on that. First impressions are a huge contributor towards how people are going to treat you, right? So let's say a person meets me, I'm like 65 kgs at my current height, right? Which is underweight. They're going to look at me, and let's say they're my boss, right? He sees me for the first time, he's going to think, this is a person who does not know how to take care of themselves. This is a person who's weak, and they're going to treat me like that unless I give them reason not to. And it does make it more difficult trying to shift people's image of you when their first impression is that of a weak, skinny person, which is what I was. And I had to change that because I did notice that it was affecting how people treated me, how new people treated me. And that's not a bad thing, honestly. You know, everyone makes first impressions, and everyone has to make judgments off of those. It's just how we survive, how we do things. So I'm not putting the blame on anyone. The blame was completely on me for choosing so long to not address that issue. When I did, though, I did notice a huge difference in how people looked upon me, how they treated me. Now, I'm still pretty skinny, as I said, but now I have more muscle definition and I have more confidence because I know what my body's capable of, and I know that it is now capable of more than what the average person is. So that reflects in the way I walk. I walk with my chest out. I walk more confident because I'm confident in my abilities. And just the change in the appearance of my body, when people look upon me now, sometimes, right, depending on the person, it's still that of, okay, this person is pretty skinny, especially if I'm wearing a certain type of clothes, and they will treat me as such. But then when they see more of me, then they're like, okay, this person does work out. You know, you can see the effects of what would be newbie gains, let's say, and they treat you differently. And that is really something nice in and of itself when meeting new people. It helps getting on with them and forming better relations with them. They look upon me as if I'm someone who can be depended upon, someone who's a bit responsible, someone who's strong, and also someone who can be respected. Now, would it be to the same degree if I was like 80 kgs and I have more muscle? No, obviously. But it's certainly a huge improvement from what I was. The other thing that I would say was discipline. It was a huge, huge issue, which is why it took me so long to decide to take this more seriously. And when I look at myself back then, it showed even in other areas of my life. When it came to my performance at work, I was good. Now, at the time, I was working as a customer service agent. I was okay, not at the top, not at the bottom. I was just above average in terms of the performance with my teams, but I did not have the discipline that would have taken me to the top. I also did not have that discipline when it came to, how I treated people and how I treated friends and close family members, let's say, because if you're not a person who is very disciplined, it's not only going to reflect in, one aspect of your life, it's going to reflect everywhere. So, checking on people, trying to make conversations, trying to further bonds, it becomes something that is not easily grasped or taken upon when you don't have that skill, which is discipline. And having to consistently perform at a set number of days, at a set number of time every week certainly helps with that, because no matter how I feel or no matter what I'm doing on that day, if I say, okay, it's now time for me to go outside, I need to do those 10 pull-ups, I need to do at least 50 of them in a certain time frame, I go in and I do it. Compared to back then, or someone who also lacks discipline, they're gonna think, okay, I'm having a bad day, I'm not in a quite good mood, this is not going good for me, I'm just gonna skip this because I can't handle this. So it helps you develop discipline, and it helps you take on more difficult challenges and do the things you need to do, regardless of how you feel or how that particular day has been going. That, in and of itself, I would say, is quite a huge motivator to not only pursue this, but also to continue. And that's also something that when people look at you and they look at how you take on certain challenges in your life and they see you do it regardless of how you're feeling, they're going to think, they're going to have more respect for you, right? Because most people, they just would not do it. Most people would just say, I'll do it later. Whereas if you are working out and you are changing your mindset to work, regardless of how you feel, to perform when you need to, you are going to be a person who's just going to be more favorable in the eyes of, someone, let's say, that you want to impress. Let's say you're at a job interview, right? And you're telling the interviewer, when he asks or she asks about your hobbies, what do you do? And you say, I'm a person who takes care of my body, I work out quite frequently. Or let's say I box. Let's say I do something physical. They're going to think this person has discipline and they are hardworking, because not everyone takes care of their body. So just based upon that, and even if you can prove it, which is much better, you're going to be more of a favorable candidate than most people applying. I recall my last job interview. I told the guy that I do work out and that I had a history of boxing, not professionally, of course, but I just did it because it was very good to know how to handle yourself and how to make yourself dangerous, right? It's very important to know how to be physically capable. And when he heard this, he was shocked, he was surprised, because that's not something that any, or rather every interviewee who comes in there is going to say, right? Not every single one of them is going to have that. But I did, and he was interested, so he asked me questions. And it turned out that he also was someone who did take boxing. So we spoke about it. We even said, hey, let's have a sparring session, whatever, whatever. I was like, no, my man, like you're 35, you have like 15 years on me. I'm gonna get beaten, but maybe we can go to a gym and we can see each other or something like that. We can do something in there. He was like, okay, yeah, that's cool, that's cool. And it really left a good impression on him. We left that interview shaking hands and smiling. Whereas when I was watching his interview with other candidates, it was very monotonous and he did not smile as much. So that shows you just the kind of effect that that can have on people when they're trying to get a judgment of your character. It's one that's very good, it's one that's very respected, and because it's one that not everyone is doing or even will do, it's going to gain you more favor. And that is something that clearly puts a smile on my face. And if you're a person watching this who may be relating to what I'm saying, or rather relating to the part where I say a person would look upon you and not think positive things based on your physical appearance, right? I think that that should be something that motivates you to do this, because change does take time and improvement does take time, especially when it comes to, the change of a physical appearance. But once that becomes noticeable to you and once that becomes noticeable to others, it's going to leave a huge impact on your life. It's going to leave a huge impact on how people treat you, what they think of you, what they would depend upon you to do, and also what you're capable of. Because if you can do something very challenging almost every single day for several weeks, months, years on at a time, you're going to be a very dependable person and you're going to be the person people look to for help. And it's very good because you're going to gain confidence from knowing you're the person who can take on those challenges, whereas most people can't. Yeah, it just it makes me happy, and I think it can make a lot of people happy because a lot of people these days do struggle with their image, their self-image, whether it be psychologically or physically. And just doing this alone, even if you don't do it as seriously, but if you do it consistently, you're going to notice a change for the better. And I don't think that it is something that you can even argue against or make a good argument to put off, other than for the reason that you tell yourself, I can do it tomorrow. Well, in response to that, and this is also something that I did struggle with that mentality of I can do it tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. I heard this quote, and it goes, already lost tomorrow. Now, most people, when they hear that, they think, so you're planning to lose tomorrow, when there's no concept of tomorrow. We only have today. How can you prove that there will be a tomorrow? You can't travel into the future, nor can you travel back into the past. We only have today. Tomorrow, as you say, it's going to be today for yourself. And if you go into tomorrow, as you say, with the same kind of mentality of, I can do it tomorrow, I can put it off, I'm not going to do it, then every single one of your todays is just always going to be tomorrow. You're not going to do anything. And the way that I interpret that, the way that I use that to motivate me, already lost tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. I can't lose tomorrow. I can only choose to win today, or I could only lose today. So I'm going to do it instead of tomorrow, if that makes sense. I'm not sure I interpret that the best. I'm not even sure I explained it the best. But for me, it's a very powerful saying. And it has helped me on every single one of the days where I was falling into that sloth mindset of, I can do it tomorrow. Well, can you really? If today you're saying that, and then the next day, the next 2 days, you're going to go into that day with the same mentality. how are you going to do anything? How are you going to do that? You've already lost tomorrow. You don't want that. You want to look at it the other way, the flip side. There is no tomorrow. There is only today. And the decision you make today, have you already lost tomorrow? No, there's no tomorrow. You can only win today. You have to make that change today. You have to make that decision today. And there are going to be some days where you just can't do anything. There's going to be some days where maybe you don't have enough time. Maybe a day where you just can't help but convince yourself, or rather you can't convince yourself to go out and perform, to go out and do that, right? I'm not saying be perfect, and I'm not saying just get on with the program and instantly just never have a failure day. But I'm saying reduce that. That should be the goal. The goal should be to reduce those days, to reduce those kinds of thoughts and that kind of mindset that is going to delay your progress. Excuses are only good for delaying progress, no matter the excuse. If you are running a race and you come in second, they are not going to say, he could have won, he just had a bad day, he could have won, he was just sick. They're going to say, you came in second place, you lost. That's it. Excuses aren't worth anything other than to try to cushion your defeat. And that is something that I believe for myself, but also for other people. It's really not a good thing that you can argue for. And it's really not something that's going to benefit your life. So why engage in it? And for me, that's also a good reason to do these videos. I want people to see this, and I want people like myself who are still new to improvements, who are still new to adjusting and trying to make all of these difficult changes, these life choices. And you need a reason from someone who has not already made it all the way, from someone who is not like, let's say, has the ideal male physique or the ideal female physique. Just, let's say, the best of physiques. It's easy to look at that person and then think, in the moment at least, think, I can achieve that. But then when you put in the work and you actually do it for a certain amount of time, you get frustrated with yourself and you think, this is something I can't attain. It's taking too long, and what if I don't ever do it? I want you to look at me as a person who is still doing it, who still has a long way to go, who tells you all of these reasons that you should, and so you can see it in real time, my improvement, and hopefully that can help you change or begin your journey, whatever it may be. I just want you as the viewer to not do what I did for so long, which is delay progress and to delay bettering yourself. There's nothing good that comes of it. I can tell you that confidently. So I just want to inspire change in people. With that being said though, there will be another video, I do promise, and it will come sooner than this one. I do promise that as well. And I look forward to talking that, to doing that. This was quite a good experience. And I do apologize for the time frame that it has taken for me to put out this video. It's just been quite challenging. I wouldn't say difficult, but it has been something to adjust to in talking to a camera, trying to conversate as if there's someone there, and also editing, etc., etc. But, you know, I'm not here to complain. It is something that I'm just making you aware of, but I do enjoy it. I enjoy the challenge, and I am rising to it. I am getting better. But yeah, I look forward to my future self putting out more better content more consistently, and it will come. I do promise that. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one. God bless.